Hey Ottawa, this is your Monday market snapshot for July 17th, 2023 in Ottawa, Ontario. My name is Annalee Rice. I'm a realtor with Royal LePage Performance Realty here in Ottawa. And every week I share with you all the numbers, all the details of what is going on in the Ottawa real estate market. Okay, let's look citywide. This week, for the active listings across the city, we see that we have a slight increase for the total number of active listings. It was most notable in the condominiums and in the detached market, slight decrease in the townhomes listed across the city. For sales, we rebounded a little bit from our lower number last week. We're up by 41 sales this week, and it was in all property types, most notably, again, the condominiums and the detached properties. Here we have the graph form of what we just spoke of. We've got the active listings up slightly, that's the green, and then we see that the conditionally sold, that's the orange, as well as the red wedges did increase to higher numbers this week. Clearly, they're not what we were through most of the spring market, but it is up from the minimums that we saw a couple weeks ago. Here we're looking at the number of new listings and the number of sales in graph form. This week we had 411 properties listed this week, and that's up slightly from what we had last week. And of those properties, 79% or 326 were new to the market, while 21% or 85 of those were properties that were relisted. Sales this week were up slightly from last week and slightly below what we saw 2 weeks ago. Again, these are down significantly from what we saw in May, well, throughout most of the spring, and it's not unexpected. We usually do have a slowdown throughout the summer, and quite frankly, with 2 interest rate hikes that we've seen over the last couple months, I'm sure there are some buyers that are stepping back a little bit and taking a pause. 22% of the homes that sold this week sold with no conditions. And of the properties that sold this week, 21% of them had sold within 7 days or less, while 67%, 2/3, sold within 30 days. Of those homes that had sold within the 1 week, there were 48% had sold without any conditions. And if you've been tracking sort of my updates over the weeks and months, that 48% is actually quite low. Typically, we're seeing between about 65 and almost up to 80% of the ones selling within that first week have been selling with no conditions. So it's nice to see more homes still having conditions, even if they're selling very quickly. Here we move into the different regions of the city for some more details. In the central urban region, we see an increase in the active listings across the property types, and sales were up slightly for the detached homes and condominiums, while they were slightly down for townhomes. In Canada and Stittsville, we're seeing sort of the opposite. We see a drop in the number of active listings across property types. And meanwhile, sales were up across property types, most notably in the townhome market. In Barrhaven and Riverside South, we see a mix of the active listings. Detached homes were down by 3, townhomes were up by 3, and condominiums were flat, 0 change. For sales this week in Barrhaven and Riverside South, we were down for the detached and townhomes and just up slightly for condominiums. And in Orleans, we see a drop in the active listings for detached homes as well as townhomes, and an increase for condominiums. Sales slowed for detached homes. They were steady for townhomes, and we have an increase in condominiums. The number of detached homes that sold this week in Orleans was actually significantly lower than what we would expect to see. If you've got 110 properties listed and only 6 sales, that's really quite slow. On the next slide, we've got the full details for the residential detached. As we have been mentioning weeks and weeks, we do still have the Barrhaven Riverside South conditional being pulled up for price because of the development lot that's conditionally sold. But I did want to comment on, from my last slide there, I mentioned about Orleans with only 6 sales of detached homes. If you look, there were 22 detached homes that are conditionally sold in Orleans. So I do expect that number of sales, firm sales in Orleans to increase next week. So hopefully the 6 was just a bit of a blip. As we move into the detailed stats for the townhomes, I did want to comment, and this is sort of a comment across the different property types on these charts. While I was filling them out, I did notice that our CDOM, that's the cumulative days on market, they're starting to creep up. So as we're starting to get higher inventory and slower sales, our cumulative days on market are going to start creeping up as we go through the summer months, unless the sales start picking up, of course. And here we have condominiums. And with the sales slowing down over the past few weeks, new listings outpacing the sales, our inventory is starting to climb. Homes are staying on the market for longer. My final word for today is a bit of a continuation of what I was just talking about on the last couple of slides. For those that are considering selling their homes these days, make sure you price it right. You don't have the luxury to sit at a higher price and test the waters at the inflated prices, and make sure that it presents in the absolute best light that you can. Listen to your realtor, stage it, prep it, make sure it's ready for sale, because it's the places that look exceptional that are selling quickly. And if that is your goal, to sell quickly and for the top dollar, then you need to do everything you can to make it happen. If you find these updates interesting and helpful, then please click a like or follow me, subscribe to my updates, and I hope you have a fantastic week.